Hey, we're up in Port McNeill for the annual celebration of the Orcafest in North Vancouver Island. And what a spectacular place, not only in Canada, but in the world. There are so many different outdoor recreational pursuits. Not only can you see a Loggersports competition, but obviously you can go see the dolphins, you can go whale watching, you can go fishing, and of course, celebrations and festivals like the Orcafest involve craft exhibitors and all kinds of things that get the community involved. They generally have a parade associated with their celebrations. And I know, Rod, you come from a small town. How important are celebrations like this to small town life?
That's the backbone of a community, really. All these different events brings people together. We've actually held lumberjack shows, Bill, in big cities and smaller towns in New Brunswick. We get the largest crowd by far at the small towns.
Absolutely. I've been going to lumberjack competitions for over 30 years right now, and I agree with you 100%, Rod. The small town atmosphere is far superior for a lumberjack sport competition. The sponsors come out, the fans come out, the whole town comes out for these kinds of events here at Orcafest in Port McNeill. We're heading into the Jack and Jill Buck. In total, we'll be showing you the top 5 heats. This first heat, the Pouchnicks, husband and wife, taking on the Moonies from Euclid, BC. Sarah Mooney and her father, Matt Mooney, who have got to be probably the favorites in this heat, in my opinion.
Helps a lot to have someone right in your own household that you can pull with, get lots of experience. We'll see that in this heat. Also comes down to the blades. A lot of times these blades are filed for different types of wood. You want to hope your blade that's filed is filed for white pine here today, because it's going to be soft wood.
Well, certainly some of the factors are using the whole blade. You want to see the ones that are almost banging the handles. Moonies look like they're short stroking a little bit. Nice, good work by the Pouchnicks on the left-hand side.
And they're off 10.4 seconds. What a great cut.
And they set the time to beat with the Moonies coming in at 12.15. But look at this. They're rocking just a little bit, but 99% of that saw is being used, and they are pushing and pulling in perfect harmony. A good husband and wife team, as you mentioned, have the opportunity to practice a little bit more. Here's a more experienced team with McLeod and Jazowski. They got to be the favorites taking on Russell and Russell.
You've got to watch. This wood is obviously 18 inches around. When they start, they're standing almost straight up, Bill, but by the time you're at the bottom, you're almost down on your knees, and they need to sink with the blade as it's going through the wood so that the saw stays level through the cut.
I know over the years of being involved in lumberjack sports, certainly you tell the greenhorns or the less experienced people, keep the saw in the wood. Obviously, it's lesson 101. If the saw's not in the wood, it's not cutting wood, that's for sure.
If the teeth aren't in the wood, they're not cutting wood, you bet. Watch Dave and Anita. They'll show a picture-perfect technique here in the double buck. Look at them fly through this wood. The saw is eating it alive.
They've got some speed, but they're not quite using the whole saw, and they break a cookie, but they do manage to finish it off, and they come in with a time of 11.37. Some obvious difficulties there, but just tell me what Roger was explaining to you.
Well, the problem was that the timer stopped when the cookie broke. Fortunately for us, Roger had a backup time and gave us the time because we did complete the cut. So.
Now, was there, I noticed it by watching, the block was moving a little bit, not quite solid.
I can't do much about that other than we didn't check it beforehand, so our own fault.
Is that true, Dave? Your own fault for not for a loose block?
It's always our own fault.
Hey, a couple of weeks ago I was talking to Dave McLeod, and I told him that he always tells it like it is, and he'll admit to saying it's my fault, the block is not steady, and I should have checked it, so he'll take onus for that. This next heat, the Jack and Jill Buck, is heat number 3. Time to beat, still 10:48. We have two relatively inexperienced teams here. We got Jolie White from North Vancouver Island Tourism Association, and Andrew Ashford is her partner, taking on the Gagnes, April and Brian.
This is what happens when you get around lumberjack sports and you watch it, whether it's on television or in live. Out of the show like this, Bill, you get drawn into it. It's a great sport. You know, you get to meet the competitors. They're great competitors. You say, I want to give this thing a whirl, and here we have a couple teams doing just that.
Couple of mistakes by Andrew and Jolie on the left-hand side. Number 1, they didn't keep the saw in the wood. Number 2, they're really short-stroking it. And Brian and April on the right-hand side, they're having a hard time keeping it level and jagging into the wood.
They're fighting one another. Just what you don't want to do, actually, in the double buck is fight each other back and forth, but they're trying to make it work. They're getting it off.
It seemed to be pretty flawless, but just tell me what it's like to have Nick Russell screaming and yelling at you the whole time while you're sawing.
Very motivational.
Very motivational. Now he's saying keep it going, but do you guys practice a lot together or at all?
Well, we certainly have practice. I wouldn't say it's a lot. This is a first-year teaming of me and Jolie, and went really out well, I think.
Any hiccups at all that you can note? I didn't notice any.
Little snag at the beginning, but...
On the second stroke we snagged, but we, after that, it was pretty flawless.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Actually, Bill, this happens a fair bit in New Brunswick. You get to a show, there's a Jack and Jill event there, you've got a crosscut saw, but no one to pull with, so you want to grab somebody for the other end of that saw so you can get some points and some money. And you can see here, if a guy picks up a late out of the crowd, you know, you're going to get the event done, you may place. But if you can pick up somebody like Alita Russian, what a great pick by Bobby Dowling.
Absolutely. She was trained by Sir Sanford Fleming College, people out back in Lindsay, Ontario. Bobby Dowling from New Zealand. And we got Angus Brown and Joy Zwicker working together for the first time. Should be interesting. Still the time to beat is 10.48 set by the Pouchnicks way back in the first heat. We're going to see what happens in this heat, the final heat of the Jack and Jill Buck.
Boys, and they started a little bit slow, but now they are into that wood, pulling the whole blade. Look at Alita and Bobby go.
It looks like they're going to win this heat for sure, and they win the Jack and Jill Buck. So how much of the work were you doing and how much of the work was he doing?
About 70-30 for him.
70-30, so that he was pulling as well as pushing?
A little bit, yeah.
Now that's not untrue, actually, because you probably did a little bit of pushing there to give her a hand. Is that true?
Oh, no, I think it was more like I was just sort of hanging on for the ride, you know. She was doing at least 70%, and I was just sort of holding her back, actually. I was hoping she could have found a better partner, but, you know, I stepped up and tried to hang on as best as I could, but she was a wild ride, I can tell you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Well, according to Bobby, the Jack and Jill turned lumberjack rodeo. They're hanging on for the ride, but Dowling and Russian put in a really good cut. Finished first in the Jack and Jill with a 10.33 seconds.